Welcome to Body Kind Families, a Butterfly Foundation initiative proudly supported by the NIB Foundation. Butterfly supports all Australians impacted by eating disorders and body image concerns. To learn more, please head to butterfly.org.au. Body Kind Families aims to help you better understand the topic of body image and how you can talk to and support your team with theirs, encouraging everyone in your home to be kind to their own body and kind to others too. Every family is different, and as the expert on yours, feel free to use the information in a way that works best for you.
Welcome to this video on understanding body image in adolescents. I'm Dr. Zali Yeager, a researcher in body image, mental health and wellbeing. I've spent the past 15 years trying to figure out the best approaches that we can use in schools or other settings to improve body image in children and adolescents. I'm also the mother of 3 kids, and my parenting journey has not been a smooth one. So I'm pretty keen to acknowledge the challenges of parenting and the pressure that parents face in so many different aspects of the hardest job in the world. So in all of the information that we're sharing as part of Body Kind Families, we're telling you what we know from the research and the evidence base, but what this looks like in each family is going to be different. There's no one-size-fits-all approach here. So I'll share the information in the hope that we can arm and empower you with the knowledge that you need to take bits and pieces that are most relevant to you back to your family. So let's dive in. When I talk about body image, I'm referring to the thoughts and feelings that we have about our bodies, not what you actually look like. We all have bodies, and from time to time, we all think positive and negative things about our bodies. But body dissatisfaction becomes a problem when we start to think negative things about our bodies more often than not. And then when that starts to affect the way we see ourselves and some of the things that we might do as a result, it starts to be more of an issue. Body dissatisfaction is very common. Around 60% of children, 60% of adolescent boys, and 80% of adolescent girls want to change something about their body. For girls, this tends to centre around losing weight, whereas for boys, it's around 50-50, and 30% seem to want to gain muscle and 30% want to gain fat. Each year, Mission Australia conducts a survey of young people, and body image consistently ranks in the top 3 issues of personal concern, alongside stress and mental health. Teenagers are generally more concerned about their body image than their physical health, bullying, financial security, and drugs, according to that survey. Although there isn't a lot of research on body image in diverse groups, we do tend to see higher levels of body dissatisfaction among gender diverse, LGBTIQA+, First Nations, culturally and linguistically diverse young people, as well as those living with a disability. Although body image concerns are common, they do still cause a lot of problems for our physical and mental health. Adolescents who are dissatisfied with their body are more likely to engage in things like dieting, disordered eating, and to gain more weight over time. Boys are more likely to use steroids and muscle-building supplements. But there are also relationships with other risky behaviours. Dissatisfied teens are more likely to use alcohol and smoke tobacco and to have earlier first sexual intercourse, and as well as engaging in self-harm and experiencing depression and anxiety. Finally, research has looked at some of the academic outcomes, with some studies showing that young people are less likely to put their hand up at school or put themselves forward for opportunities, and they're more likely to actually skip school on days when they're not feeling confident about their appearance. So there are many negative outcomes of body dissatisfaction for our physical and mental health, as well as our academic performance. Now, in the world we live in today, it's so easy to believe that we need to control our bodies, and that if we relax and feel happy with or appreciative of our body, this will lead to weight gain or poor health. But big studies out of the US are showing that this just isn't the case. There's now really strong research that shows that having a more positive body image is related to engaging in more healthy physical activity, healthy eating, and maintaining a body weight in the expected weight range for age and height. So what leads young people to like or not like their bodies? There are 3 main influences on body image. First is our biology. That's things like gender, weight, pubertal timing, and genetics. Our psychology is the traits such as perfectionism and individuals' tendency to compare themselves and internalize societal messages. Finally, our culture is a huge influence on our body image. Things like peers, family, and the media. Now, the biological and the psychological influences are pretty fixed. So let's go into more detail in relation to the things we can change in the cultural influences of peers, family, and the media. When I speak to a lot of parents, they tend to think that social media is one of the only influences on body image, but the research does suggest otherwise. What we tend to see is that families are the main influence on body image in childhood, and then in the tween years, this shifts over to being peers and the media. And social media is really a combination of those two things. So peers and friends are really key influences on adolescents as they start to become more focused on fitting in. So the friend groups and the peer norms become very important in transmitting kind of what's acceptable and desirable in their group. Peers are also the place where many young people engage in social comparisons and conversations about appearance, two key influences on body image. Now, when we were young, the media was TV, magazines, and movies, but of course, very few adolescents spend their time doing those things now. What we know from the past 20 years of research, though, is that the influence of the media is strong, and that exposure to images of thin or muscular ideals in the media does result in body dissatisfaction and low mood. There are some other developmental changes during the tween and teen years that make young people more vulnerable to body image concerns. We'll just talk about those quickly. So one of the first things that happens is that young people develop the ability to compare themselves to others at around the age of 9. So they might start by comparing their colouring in or their running ability, but also their bodies. And we know that those social comparisons are one of the bigger influences on body image. Second, that ability to compare is kind of then followed by a drive to fit in. And adolescents tend to make many comparisons with their peer groups constantly to check that they are fitting in and that they're okay and that they're acceptable. Teens are also in a critical stage for developing their identity and their own unique characteristics and contributions to the world. And for some teens, their appearance does become an important part of the development of their identity or the way that they explore and demonstrate who they are to the rest of the world. Egocentrism is another developmental feature of adolescence that's best described as being in your own reality TV show. So if you remember back to being a teenager and you have that feeling where everyone was looking at you all the time, that's egocentrism, and it can be what makes adolescents particularly vulnerable to feeling self-conscious about or wanting to change our bodies. We grow out of it in our early 20s. And finally, the stage of pubertal growth that teenagers are in also affects their body image. Many tweens and teens have periods where they grow out before they grow up, and these can be key times where they're teased about their body weight. Also, for boys, puberty tends to take them closer to some of the male ideals for bodies. And so as they start to produce testosterone and can therefore grow muscles, we tend to see that they feel better about themselves. So we see increased body dissatisfaction in the boys who have later pubertal development because it takes them longer to achieve that look. For girls, we see the opposite. The necessary increase in fat that's required to allow for menstruation takes girls away from the societal ideals as they become women. So those who experience really much earlier pubertal growth tend to be teased more and to have more body image concerns. So although the influence of parents does decline across the teenage years, you as parents do play a really important role, particularly in terms of role modelling attitudes and behaviours around bodies and body image. Given the importance of being a good role model, it's important to remember not to say anything negative about your own or other people's bodies. Particularly, don't say that in front of your adolescents. Really think about the messages that we might be sending through the way that we look after our own bodies. The overall idea here is to convey the fact that all bodies are good bodies and all bodies are worthy of love and care, regardless of what they look like. Now, depending on your own body image journey, this can be challenging for some parents, and it's important to be kind to yourself on so many levels as you try to make the shift towards creating a body confident home. There's a lot of content in Body Kind Families to help support this. So we've been through a lot today. What body image is, what sort of things contribute to body dissatisfaction, and some key developmental and sociocultural influences on body image that might be impacting your tweens and teens.
If this content has raised any concerns about body image or eating disorders, whether for yourself or someone you care about, we encourage you to contact Butterfly's free and confidential national helpline. Butterfly specialist counsellors are available by phone, email or web chat, 8 a.m. to midnight 7 days a week. Visit butterfly.org.au for further information. And for urgent support, please call Lifeline on 13 11 14.